Ever seen someone cheer for a team that's actively trying to injure them? That's what's happening to people's bank accounts. Today we're diving into a world where folks are told to celebrate their own financial ruin as a win, where owning the libs costs more than rent, and where the goalposts for economic recovery are moved further every month. It's a masterclass in manipulation, and we're here to break it down. Welcome back to Mind Mirror. Let's get into it.
Hey, MAGA, what about those jobs numbers? Only 70-something thousand jobs added in this economy. I remember when Joe Biden was adding over 200,000 jobs a month. God, do I miss President Biden. Inflation is tearing this country apart, but thanks to the tariffs, we're all feeling it right now, especially at the grocery store. How do you feel knowing that you own the libs? We're owning the libs. Donald Trump has not done jack shit for the middle class in this country. The people that are happy, the people that are satisfied and content and jubilant right now are the top 1% who are getting a big old tax cut. Woo! These are the most embarrassing job numbers that I've seen in quite some time. And it's just going to get worse. The cost of things are just going to go through the roof. I think between 20 and $30 billion was lost between GM and Ford. Winning America first. Let's just go gut all the factory workers. Hey, are we feeling great yet? Yeah. How about those grocery prices? Unbelievable. You know, racism and bigotry and owning the libs is expensive, isn't it? Maybe you should have voted for Kamala Harris.
Lloyd, what's the message?
Jesus died on that cross so we could live, and this is not living.
Amen. I respect that.
Right now, we're in a very dire situation. September's upon us, harvest is starting in the deep south, and we have 0 bushels of soybeans on the books to be sold to China for this current crop that's about to come out of the field. Historically, over the last 5 years, about a third of soybean sales to China would be booked. China amounts to 25% of our total U.S. soybean crop. So that would be 8 or 9% of the whole U.S. crop would normally be on the books with China right now, and we have 0.
This is ground zero for economic delusion. This farmer is stating a catastrophic fact. 0 sales, a complete market collapse for him. Yet you know there are guys watching this who are still pounding their chests yelling America first. This is what happens when a political movement becomes your entire identity. You define winning as ideological purity. Even if the grand prize is your own bankruptcy, your self-worth gets so tied to a political flag that you'll salute it even as it's sinking your ship. Here's the tool. Your vote is a business decision for your family, not a marriage vow to a personality. Judge the results, not the rhetoric. And for this farmer, the result is a big, fat 0.
That is alarming. The farm economy as a whole is struggling. Inflation has caused our cost of production to rise drastically on every front. Commodity prices, in particular soybeans, are down about 50% from where they were 3 years ago. And our numbers are deeply in the red. And we send this letter to President Trump because we've been talking for months about needing to have sales in place, a deal in place, a phase 2 type agreement that has purchase commitments along with a level playing field on trade with no tariffs, and we haven't had anything happen, unfortunately. And our appeal to President Trump and his administration is make soybeans a priority in any trade negotiations that are taking place. Soybeans are the #1 agriculture export to China. And in the last trade war, it was 71% of the losses that we had as American farmers. And they're critical.
Yeah, so if we look at, and we're going to divide. So I'll stay with grain and oilseeds because that's what I do day to day. But I just have to say one thing about livestock. For livestock folks, we're in good world for them right now. So I'd love to be able to have as good a world that they're having in GNO, but we just don't. And so there's just so many things, and it's really a supply story this year. When you think about across the globe, we haven't had a year where every country's almost in all 8 cylinders where we're getting full production. And that's where we are right now. It's also too a bit of a dichotomy in the US is that we're building corn stocks, but the world is not. It's just the opposite in soybeans where the world's building soy stocks and we're not. And so it's a very weird world, but the fact is we just have so much supply in the world that's just going to keep prices, really on the defensive.
Costco has sued the Trump administration over his tariffs that have increased prices for the American consumer, me and you. And let's be honest, it's us, the American consumers, that are paying for tariffs, not foreign companies. So now many in MAGA are canceling their Costco memberships in protest. What? You're already shopping at Costco to save money, and your protest is to pay higher prices. Like you really want to pay for the tariffs. Make that make sense. The blind and self-sabotaging loyalty of the MAGA minions would be laughable if it wasn't so pitiful.
The mental gymnastics here are Olympic level. A company sues the government because tariffs are making you pay more, and the protest is to pay even more somewhere else. It's like punching yourself in the face to show how tough you are. These guys think they're economic warriors, but they're just volunteers for the other team's payroll. Your wallet doesn't give a damn about your politics. Making financial moves to own someone is just you paying a voluntary stupid tax to feel like you belong to a club. Stop it.
And sad.
Think of that. Would you like to have $1.84 a gallon instead of $4?
Gas prices. Today they hit $4.
We have $4, yeah, and we have a country that's not going to be throwing a nuclear weapon at us in 6 months.
But Americans are feeling the effects in the interim.
And they're also feeling a lot safer.
Gas prices are through the roof, and people are now waiting in line. Prices have dropped dramatically. And look, I know we've seen a blip right now.
I watched this growing up. I watched my mom, who didn't have much money. When prices of things went up, like gas, it impacted her ability to do what she cared about.
I grew up in a poor family, so I know this impact on gas and food prices, all that is really impacting people, and my heart goes out to them. But the president is doing the right thing. It's better to make sure we are not going to be destroyed by a nuclear weapon.
Gas prices have risen 40% since President Biden took office. That takes a tremendous toll on family budgets. Things will start to stabilize, Dana. You'll start to see those gas prices come down to a more normal range.
Americans are not joyful when they go to the gas station. If you think gas prices are high now, give the Ayatollah a nuclear weapon to terrorize the region, to threaten the streets of Hormuz. He will control gas prices forever.
The price of gas in my neighborhood was $1.78 a gallon. It shot up during the Biden administration to well over $5 and $6 a gallon in some parts of our nation.
There may be some sacrifices to be made at the pump on a temporary basis.
Do you think Americans are willing to make that sacrifice?
I think the people in my district are.
This is a short-term disruption for the long-term gain.
Short-term pain for the...
Listen for that phrase, short-term pain for long-term gain. It's one of the oldest cons in the book, and it works because it preys on hope. It's the political version of a get-rich-quick scheme, where they take your money now and promise you a mansion later. But have you ever noticed that the people promising the gain are never the ones feeling the pain? That's reserved for you, at the gas pump, at the grocery store, for your family. So here's your defense. Next time a leader says this, ask two simple, brutal questions. 1. Pain for who, specifically? And 2. What is the concrete, written in stone guarantee on this gain? If they give you vague bullshit, you know you're being scammed.
Long-term gain.
Short-term pain be for long-term gain.
We're going to have some short-term pain with long-term gain.
Short-term pay for a long-term gain.
Some short-term pain, yes, but we've got some long-term gain. Short-term spike for a long-term gain.
Some short-term pain for American consumers.
We may have to deal with that in the short term.
Short-term and temporary.
Temporary, short-term pain.
It's going to suck in the short term.
Some short-term pain.
Short-term pain. We have to focus on the short term.
Short-term.
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 Short-term and long-term.
Short-term.
Hopefully this is a short-term pain. Short-term is highly outweighed of the long-term benefits.
Some short-term pain for the long-term gain.
Short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain.
Hey, Trump supporters, are your grocery prices going down? No, they're going up.
Yeah, grocery prices are going up because inflation doesn't just reset when a new president walks in. It's the hangover from 4 years of reckless spending and money printing under Biden. I mean, you pump that much fake cash into the economy, prices don't go down, they actually snowball.
And wait till you get your health insurance premiums.
And she's right. It's because those Obamacare subsidies are about to expire at the end of this year. And that's what happens when Washington props up a broken system with temporary funding, and they call it.
Cheering for your neighbor to lose their health care because you don't like the name on the bill is a wild look, but it reveals the real game. For a lot of these guys, it's not about policy, it's about erasing the other team's legacy, no matter the collateral damage. They get hyped about tearing something down without a single blueprint for what to build in its place. A man's job is to build and protect, not just smash things for fun. If a leader's only plan is repeal, with no viable replace, then he's not a leader, he's just a demolition man, and you're the one left living in the rubble he creates.
Reform. Obamacare was sold as affordable health care, but all it did was mask the true cost. I mean, when the subsidies dry up, reality hits and families see what insurance actually costs on the open market. And meanwhile, taxpayers have been footing the bill for years, and only about a third of recipients even made a claim last year.
But take comfort in the fact that Kristi Noem bought 2 luxury jets for $127 million of taxpayer money.
Well, that one sounds bad until you look closer. Those jets, they weren't personal toys. They're part of a Homeland Security procurement for Coast Guard operations. Every administration upgrades aircraft for transport and emergency response. And the number she quoted wasn't even right. I mean, reports, they put it closer to $170 million, which honestly makes the waste look worse. But pretending Noem ordered them for herself, that's just lazy spin. So yeah, prices are up, insurance is climbing, but that didn't start when Trump walked back in. It started when politicians decided to buy headlines instead of fixing the economy. You've heard her version, now let's hear yours.
We're not doing enough for this country, and we're not doing enough for Israel, and we're not helping Israel enough.
Look at the gas. I mean, every time I go to that gas pump, I get so upset inside. When Trump was president, gas prices were nowhere near this amount. It's getting to the point where people cannot survive. They're getting 2 or 3 jobs to survive.
I think Donald Trump is talking to God, and when he enacts something, an executive order or something, it's because God actually told him.
I don't know about that, but I believe he's getting his instructions.
When a leader gets elevated to a prophet, you have officially left the world of politics and entered a cult. This is beyond dangerous because it absolves you, the follower, of all responsibility for critical thought. How can you question a policy if it's a divine instruction? You can't. You're just supposed to obey, and guys who mock others for being sheep are often the first to fall in line here. So here's the real talk. Guard your mind like you guard your money. Never grant anyone, not a politician, not a CEO, not a pastor, absolute, unquestionable authority over your thinking. Your faith is yours, but you judge a leader by their earthly results, period. Here's the honey trap for guys who love freedom. The phrase cutting regulations. It sounds amazing, less government, more power to the people. But that slogan is used to hide a multitude of sins. That regulation might be the rule stopping a corporation from gambling with the economy, or the one keeping lead out of your kid's water. Never, ever cheer for the slogan, demand the line item. When they say, we're cutting red tape, your only response should be, show me which tape and tell me who bleeds when you cut it.
Donald Trump has not done jack shit for the middle class in this country. The people that are happy, the people that are satisfied and content and jubilant right now are the top 1% who are getting a big old tax cut. Woo! These are the most embarrassing job numbers that I've seen in quite some time. And it's just going to get worse. The cost of things are just going to go through the roof. I think between 20 and $30 billion was lost between GM and Ford. Winning America first. Let's just go gut all the factory workers. Hey, are we feeling great yet? Yeah. How about those grocery prices? Unbelievable. You know, racism and bigotry and owning the libs is expensive, isn't it? Maybe you should have voted for Kamala Harris.
Lloyd, what's the message?
Jesus died on that cross so we could live, and this is not living.
Amen. I respect that.
President Biden, inflation has slowed, but prices remain high. Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120. And typical home prices have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president and what Mr. Trump left me. We had an economy that was in free fall. The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach into your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do is try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out the position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, but there's more to be done. If you take a look at all that was done in his administration, he didn't do much at all.
Thank you. President Trump?
We have the greatest economy in the history of our country. We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID, and when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars, and so many other things. Everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates that was a disaster for our country. But other than that, we had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce-back jobs, a bounce-back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Thank you. President Biden?
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world, he's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he had the greatest economy in the world. And, you know, the fact of the matter is that we found ourselves in a situation where his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term. He's the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's lost more jobs than he had when he began, since Herbert Hoover.
The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down and then they bounced back, and he's taking credit for bounce back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. No, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing, and they don't know what they were doing. It was probably the worst administration in history.
It's shocking that no one has done this 100-day comparison. So here goes. Joe Biden entered office during the worst health crisis in American history, with thousands of people dying every single day, virtually no plan from Trump to disseminate vaccines, with an economy on the cusp of economic collapse, shattered international relations, a growing climate crisis, and he had to contend with the first attempt to overturn a free and fair election. Trump entered office with an economy that was the envy of the world, with record job growth, cooling inflation, stronger international relations, but he also had to deal with a war in Ukraine, the Middle East, and immigration numbers that were overwhelming our system. In his first 100 days, Biden administered 200 million vaccines, signed the American Rescue Plan, reestablished international relations, and began addressing climate change for real. A path that led us out of the health crisis far faster than others, rescued our economy, and made America a respected global leader again. Trump, on the other hand, tanked the markets, undermined our global economic system, blew up international relations, ignored the rule of law, scared the shit out of potential immigrants who they don't want to live here and contribute to our society. In fact, tons of people don't even want to come visit here now. Trump also appears to be running the most corrupt administration ever. Trump said on Sunday, all the good parts of the economy are thanks to him and the bad parts are Biden's fault. It's just the other way around. Do you agree?
And there you have it, folks. President Trump just admitted that he knows we're headed towards a recession and that he's perfectly fine with it. Don't believe me? Take a look at him saying so himself.
And I want to know what you think about that. Are you comfortable with the country potentially dipping into a recession for a period of time if you are able to achieve your long-term goals?
Well, you know, you say some people on Wall Street say, well, I can tell you something else. Some people on Wall Street say that we're going to have the greatest economy in history. Why don't you talk about them? Because some people on Wall Street say this is the greatest thing.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at, though. It's the same question.
Yeah, there are many people on Wall Street say this is going to be the greatest windfall ever happened.
And that's my question.
Remember
the
this.
long term. Yeah. Is it okay in the short term to have a recession?
This. Look, yeah, everything's okay.
Pay very close attention to this moment. This is the mask slipping completely. The reporter asks if your financial ruin is an acceptable price for him to achieve his goals, and the answer is a casual, yes, everything's okay. It's a transition period for the billionaire class. It's a catastrophe for you. This is the captain of the ship telling you he's willing to steer into an iceberg to prove a point, and that your life is acceptable collateral damage. To the guys still defending this, ask yourself one question. Is your loyalty to a man who sees you as disposable, or is it to the family that depends on you? A true leader takes the hit for his people. He doesn't use them as a human shield.
If I gave a homeless person $1, I would take it back just because I would like to see the sadness on his face of me, tricking him, thinking I'm going to give him money.
Okay, the Donald Trump economy. We own the economy in the fourth quarter. But starting the third quarter, you start to feel some Donald Trump. And the fourth quarter, you will feel the power of Donald Trump's economy.
And the one big beautiful bill will start kicking in, I predict, in the fourth quarter.
I'd say we fully wear the fourth quarter, and we may well wear much of the third quarter. But for fourth quarter, for sure.
I believe by the fourth quarter, we're going to see a substantial acceleration.
For sure, the fourth quarter is Donald Trump's quarter, and the third quarter, his policies start to really embed in America.
And I think 2026 could be gangbusters.
Okay, well, we'll have you back definitely to check back in with you.
As MAGA has fallen for it again. Now, as you know, on the campaign trail, Donald Trump said that the economy would take off on day one. He would end inflation, lower energy prices by half, that jobs would just explode across the country. Well, fast forward 8 months and the economy is falling apart, and Donald Trump has a new timeline. Take a listen.
And our big year won't be really next year. I think it'll be the year after, because when these...
Yeah, it won't be next year. The big year, the economy will recover in 2027. We were told at first it was day one, and then it was moved to the second quarter. Then it was moved to the fall, and now it's 2027. And MAGA, he promised immediate results. He moved it back to Q2 in the fall, and now he's moving it out 2 years, and you're just like, well, art of the deal. What can we do? All the while, the rest of us suffer. The economy is in shambles, and the President of the United States is completely delusional about it. Donald Trump just broke his biggest campaign promise as MAGA has fallen for it again. Now, as you know, on the campaign trail, Donald Trump...
If you're wondering when our fellow Americans are going to recognize the damage that Donald Trump is doing to this country, I want to point out that more and more Americans are. This is easy to miss because it doesn't get covered much, but public opinion has been moving quickly and dramatically away from the president. Among young people, he's lost 34 points of support. And I think it's because he's failing to keep his most basic promises. He hasn't brought prices down. They're going up because of his actions. The economy as a whole is getting worse. And most Americans see that and recognize it. And it's showing up in the way that they think and talk about the president. So don't fall for this attempt to make you feel disempowered. Raising our voices makes a difference. It's clearly having an effect, and we've got to keep it up.
Meet Luis.
What we saw today wasn't about left versus right. It was about reality versus rhetoric. It's a look at the psychology that convinces good people to advocate against their own well-being for the sake of a political team. The real takeaway is to detach your identity from any politician and anchor it in your own reality, your own family, your own wallet. The big question is, where do you draw the line? At what point does loyalty to a political flag become a betrayal of your own future? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.